But for now, we'll just do Fury Blows. And you can see just how much damage we do with this. Okay, to start this Astarion / Vampire Ultimate build, we are going to start with the Rogue, of course. Now, you can really depend. You can either start with Rogue, or you can start with a Monk. These are the main two starting points you want to be with here. It's entirely up to you which one you want to go with. They are very similar in what you get, to be honest, so it will be really up to what you want early game. Unless you're respecing later in the game, then it doesn't really matter at all. But essentially, you get a lot of the same stuff. You'll just get either key points and unarmored defense, depending on what armor route you want to go down with the Monk, or your Ranger, you'll get, also your Rogue, you'll get your Dexterity saving throws and simple stuff like that. I will start with the Rogue for this. Now, for this, we really want to focus on a couple of key points here. Wisdom, we don't really need. We want to focus on Strength, Dexterity, and Intelligence, which will make more sense as we get to it. Now, in my opinion, I would leave something along the lines of this, maybe even dump it down to this. This would be like your bread and butter that you want here, depending on which route you go down, because I am going to give you two builds you can do here, depending on which way you want to go. For your skill proficiencies, again, pick whichever you fancy. For a vampire build myself, I would do Stealth, obviously, and probably Acrobatics. Okay, level 2, I would stick with Rogue. There's not really much else to add to this at this point, other than just stick with Rogue. We are now at level 3, and level 3 allows us to pick our specialization, and you might be thinking we're going to take the Assassin. We're actually going to take Thief for Fast Hands, gain an additional bonus action, and this will make much more sense as we get into it. It also gives us the ability to have second story work. You master a falling and gain resistance to falling damage. This can be very good, very, very good. Okay, level 4 is where we're going to dip into the Monk. Now, this will make more sense as we build the build further, but for the first 6 levels, you just want 3 Rogue, 3 Monk. So now we're Monk level 2, we have things such as Patient Defense and Step of the Wind. And thematically, with things like Unarmored Defense, it means you can put Astarion in robes or something to look a lot more like Cazador. And I won't give any spoilers for that, but Cazador is obviously amazing. And for this, we want Way of the Open Hands. This gives us things such as Fury Blows, Stagger, Push, and Topple. And Fury Blows is amazing, and it's a bonus action, which is where the 2 bonus actions from Thief will come in. Okay, so as I was saying, we have 2 additional things we can do from here. Theoretically, you can either just go Monk all the way now and take it to level 12, and that will give you extra damage per attack. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You would pick your feats, so let's just do that build and I'll show you what I would do. So at level 4, I would take either an ASI, or I would take Tavern Brawler. Now Tavern Brawler is really good when you make an unarmored attack, use an improvised weapon, or throw something. Your strength modifier is added twice to damage and attack rolls. So this would be the route I'd go down if you were going to go all the way to Monk. It also lets you buff one of these. Constitution I would not worry about for reasons we will discuss later. I'd put it straight into Strength. Okay, we're now Monk level 5. This gives us an extra attack. It also gives us Stunning Strike, which is a normal action, possibly stuns the target. This can be really good in terms of you can stun an enemy, and then you can use your bonus action to hit Fury Blows, or your bonus action to do your Bite, which heals Astarion if it is a creature that has blood inside. And again, that will be more key towards the end of the video. You could take your Monk to level 6. This gives you additional key points. Also gives you manifestation of body, mind, soul, and this is just extra damage that you can add with your key points to your unarmored attacks. It also gives you wholeness of body. Regain half your key points and enter a temporary state of wholeness where you regain key points and have an additional bonus action. Now theoretically this is less important than it sounds if you follow the guide that we're doing more towards the end. Monk level 7 would give you 63 HP, additional key points, evasion, so this is very good because you will be up close and personal with enemies. So your agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain spells. When a spell or effect would deal half damage on a successful dexterity saving throw, it deals no damage if you succeed, only half damage if you fail. This is extremely similar, if not the same as the one you get Rogue for Uncanny Dodge. And Stillness of Mind. If you're charmed or frightened, you automatically cast Stillness of Mind to remove the condition. Again, another amazing spell. Monk level 8, we get one more feat, so from here you could go with the ASI, bump this up to 16, bump your dexterity up, depending on if you want to do this build where it's a pure melee. You also have things such as alerts, gain a +5 to initiative and can't be surprised. This is really good for just pushing yourself further up the initiative order. You have durable, constitution is increased by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain 4 hit points every time you take a short rest, which is amazing. Mobile as well is another good one. Your movement speed increases and difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. If you move after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from targets. I love this feat in D&D, I use this all the time. And it's so good for just getting in the pocket, dealing some damage, and just running away immediately. I swear by this feat. I've put it on every single rogue and ranger I've ever played. It is phenomenal. But for this, let's do the SI, and we'll do it into strength. And at this level, I would take Rogue 4 over Monk 9. Monk 9 will give you things like Key Restoration, Advanced Unarmored Movement, another Key Point. However, I think the Rogue, just to get that extra feat, where you could do another ASI, bump your Strength up to 19. If you wanted to, you could bump your Dex up to 17, depending on what gear you've got, is a very optimal choice you can do here. And essentially, that is this version of this build here. It is just 8 Monk, 4 Rogue. And the benefit of this is if you went into combat, which we can do, we will just do lots of bonus actions to get lots of damage like this, and we can still deal our main damage. So we'll drop a save here, we're going to take this into combat and I'll show you how this build works, and I'll explain how you can buff this with story decisions without any spoilers, and then I'll show you the second version of this build, which I personally prefer. Okay, so as you can see, we're in combat, so I'm going to get through the round here. In fact, actually, Astarion has the same one as us. So this build is very, very simple. You see we have no weapons. So, how this build works... Oh, he's actually got a dagger out, which I wish he didn't. Let's get rid of that quickly. There we go. So, how this works... Do big attacks like this, and then we've got things like Fury of Blows. Now, what we need is to get some damage. But for now, we'll just do Fury of Blows. And you can see just how much damage we do with this. It's insane. We then also use another bonus action to do another attack. And you can see in one round of damage, we've almost done 60 damage to the enemy, which is insane. Okay, so you can see we were so good then, we took no damage from those attacks, which is just crazy. But that is what we really need with this build. And as you can see, we lost 2 health, which isn't too much. But if it was more damage, for example, we can do loads of these attacks. We can then do Vampire Bite. Suck the blood from a living creature to regain hit points. Target is 2 to 8 piercing damage. And if it's not sleeping, or you are hiding. Oh no, sorry, not if it's sleeping or hiding. So we'll do Vampire Bite. There you go, we get plus 5 HP, so we're now fully topped up. This also, if I can press the right button, gives him the happy status. Astarion's vampiric hunger has been temporarily sated. +1 to all attack rolls, saving throws, and most ability checks. +1 might not sound like a lot, but that is very, very tough. It's such a key bonus that you've now gone for just doing one basic bonus action. And yet we still have now the chance to do more bonus actions with our Monk and Thief abilities. The only downside of this, Vampire Bite must take a short rest. So you can only use it once per short rest, so theoretically once per combat. But this is really good for just healing up and getting a buff that you need. You can then come back in and still do things like Fury of Blows. And again, you can see we did another 60 damage at that round, which is pretty hefty for a rogue monk. And now once again, we'll just show this off. It's a really simple build. Really, really simple when you just do it like this. It's just big damage. And as you see, we did this, so we can now use a paralyzing critical. The enemy is now paralyzed and cannot do anything, which means we can very easily now just do things like Fury of Blows Stagger. And you'll see more crits. We can then just do another Unarmored. And we took out an entire enemy in one round of combat with 4 hits. It's a very, very strong build. And we've taken 2 damage all fight. And for being a frontliner, that is amazing. Our movement is really good as well, so you can move so far. And now this enemy has 66 health, so potentially we might be able to take him out as well. If we now did something like a Fury of Blows Topple. which they save from, which is okay, because then we can just do it again. 63 damage around. If we would have just rolled a little bit higher on like our first attack where we did 5 damage, we probably could have killed him. And we have deflect missiles because of our monk ability. And because they attacked us, we get to use our reaction and we wipe them out. That is how strong this build is. It is amazing. And that Vampire Bite with that +1 buff is even better. Now, let's go back to Character Creator and we'll show off another version of this build, the one I personally prefer. We'll take that into comment and show you how it is. Okay, so up until level 6, the build is the same. It's 3 Rogue, Thief, and 3 Monk with the open hand. This is where it gets a bit crazy, and where we need our intelligence. Wizard. And we're going to be a Necromancer, which will make sense. So, thematically, you can pick really anything you want. Bone Chill is always good. Acid Splash is fun. Poison Spray, Cone of Cold, or Ray of Frost, sorry. These would be the 3 I'd pick go. Bone Chill, because it's necrotic, and then Acid, and really focusing on that. For spells, really, you could take whatever you fancy. I would get rid of Foghowl personally and add False Life, but I think as long as you have Thunder Wave, Magic Missile, and Mage Armor, I think you're fine, honestly. I think those are probably the 3 best spells for this build at this level. And we're going to take this all the way to level 6. So as I said, we will be a Necromancer. This gives us access to Necrotic Savant, so that's where you can learn necromancy spells from the spell sheets you get, spell scrolls, I should say, for cheaper, and Grim Harvest. Once per turn, if you kill a creature with a spell, you regain hit points equal to twice the spell slot used. Thrice if it's a necrotic spell. Undead and constructs are unaffected. So Grim Harvest, paired with Vampire Bite, phenomenal. Not only do you get this way, if you kill them with a necrotic spell, you'll regain hit points. You also have your Vampire Bite if you need to use that, where you can also regain health. So theoretically, with this build, you can stand in the pocket, deal damage with your Monk and Rogue abilities. You're going to have a bunch of different Vampiric Servants and Undead around you, and you're just going to keep re-healing turn after turn after turn. It's amazing. So, we really want to focus in on the damage-dealing spells. So again, a Necromancy spell, Rare Frost. And if you really wanted to, you could take something like Enhanced Leap. This is really good, especially with the Monk abilities, where you could dart around the dance floor. Sticking with Wizard, obviously, as I said, at level 3, I would probably take like a Melf's Acid Arrow, just because it is a big damage-dealing one. Cloud of Daggers is also really good. Another option, Misty Step. This would use up one of your bonus actions, so bear in mind you would lose an option to use some like key point abilities or whatnot, but Misty Step really can be a good spell. Your option, Blur. This is a concentration, but if you can throw this up as a spell and then still do your bonus actions and have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, you're really laughing because you're just going to not absorb any damage. Sticking with Wizard level 4, as I said from the start, again, you can really pick anything. I think Blade Ward is pretty good. Shock and Grasp is another good option. Again, I would take Cloud of Dagger, as I mentioned, and really anything here. Magic Weapon's always fun. Misty Step, like I said. Enhance and Lash Reduce is always a good one as well. If you can throw Enlarge on a Barbarian, it's amazing. For your feat, really you want to pick things that are similar to the previous one. So either improve your ASIs, depending on what gear you've got. Taking Durable. Taking Tavern Brawler. This would be my option, would be Tavern Brawler, just so you can still deal extra damage. Your other option, and this is honestly a really good one, is Elemental Adapt. So if you pick that, and then take like the Acid, because we've been really focusing on the Acid moves. Unfortunately, Necrotic isn't on here, but Elemental Adapt Acid is another great option. So spells you cast and attacks you make ignore resistance to acid damage. So you could deal this, you can just ignore anyone's acid resistances, and if you kill them with your acid moves, you then regenerate hit points based on the spell slot used. Again, really good options here. Depends on which you would prefer, if you want to be more in the pocket and dealing damage with your fists, or if you want to be more of a spell caster. Okay, Wizard level 5, we're just going to stick with it. We get options for more spells. Animate Dead I would take here, just to have access to it a little bit earlier. And Counterspell. Counterspell is a must, in my opinion, for any Wizard. And now at level 6, we do get Animate Dead as an action, So because we're a wizard, we can just change our spellbook. That is absolutely fine. It's also worth learning your spells that you get from scrolls anyway. And really here you can pick anything you want. Fireball's always nice because fireball's fireball. Who doesn't love that? Vampiric Touch as well. These would be my first two. Touch an enemy, siphon their life force, and regain half as many hit points. It is a concentration, so you couldn't use this with Blur, for example. But it's a vampire. You have to have it. Okay, so let's take this into combat, and we'll show you what that's all about. Okay, so this is the same as any other Necromancy build. You want to raise a couple of dead. You can do this in a combat or after a combat, whatever. But make sure you get your undead thralls, so we now have 2. Okay, and this build is exactly the same as the previous one, except your physical damage output is not as strong. Yes. And once again, he's got a dagger out. Now, we don't unfortunately have access to extra attack because we've only got 3 monk, so please bear that in mind. But that still gives you the option to have your 2 bonus actions. But you can still deal some decent damage. 2 Fury Blows, for example. So you're still doing around 40 damage. It's not the 60 to 65 damage in the previous round, but we do have 2 summons to help us out here, as well as the option for spellcasting abilities. So again, our DC is so high, they did miss their first attack. Unfortunately, they did hit their second. But this is where we have the thing of our zombies now come in. And as you can see, these do 14 damage. So between Astarion and the zombies, you can theoretically do around 60 damage a round still. It's a bit more spread out and sparse. And as you can see, we're still dodging a lot of moves. So we're going to leave this zombie alive for now. We're just going to move this dude up here. And as I said, we're going to dip to Astarion, and we have our bonus action, so we can do Vampiric Bite. So you can see, we've just healed up. We only got about 7 hit points. Isn't too bad. But now we have access to Happy. And from here, we could do like Bone Chill. And we just wipe them out entirely. This still gives us access to another Fury Blow, so let's say we did Stagger. And as you can see, we did about 20 damage there. So you can see, they missed another big attack. Now we did get 14 damage, which isn't too much from Barbarian, to be honest. And we can come in here and we can hit them with the 7. And of course, we still have our other one, who can come over here and deal some damage. And this is another benefit. If your zombie kills someone, you get a newborn zombie appear. So not only will your zombies almost regenerate themselves the more kills they get, Astarion can continually heal himself. Now newborn zombies, you cannot control unfortunately, they work on their own volition. But, the more summons, the better in my opinion. Now, as we learned in the previous round, if we kill an enemy with a ability, we can heal. We also have Vampiric Touch, so let's hit this. And we just gain 4 extra health, which isn't too much, but it's also not the worst. And we still have our bonus actions. So again, a little bit of healing. And alas, because of Vampiric Touch, we now have another newborn zombie. So not only do we heal ourselves for 4 hit points, which isn't too much, as I openly admit, we now have 4 summons instead of 2, which is incredible. And as you can see, another zombie kill on the final enemy, and we now have 5 summons. And that's what makes this build so powerful, is you can constantly heal, you can do a lot of damage, and you can just build up a little vampiric army of zombies. It's so good. Now, the way you can rebuff for this build is very simple. There is a ability called Ascendant Bite. I will not ruin how to get this. If you want to do this yourself, you can look it up. It is an Act 3 thing, though. And essentially, this just allows you to deal extra damage. So instead of just doing a normal Vampire Bite, the Ascended Bite heals you for 66. So that is a maximum of 36 health, and deals 66 necrotic to the target. That is a maximum of 36. You also get the Happy status, and biting creature does not break stealth. So you can bite him, and you still are stealthed. It also does not need to be short rested to regen. You can use it again and again. So you can use your 2 a point. So if you're doing the first build, you can do your 2 attacks, do your Ascendant Bite, do your Fury Blows. If you're doing this build, do your 1 attack, do your Ascendant Bite, do your Fury Blows. You can just continuously heal yourself every round, dealing maximum damage. It's phenomenal. The way you also get this Ascendant Bite, there's another thing you can get called Woe. This is a staff. Again, you can look this up if you want. This is kind of spoilery, but this staff is insane for a vampire. It's a very rare +2 quarter staff, and it grants better spell save DC and spell attack rolls, as well as access to the Blight spell, and healing when a creature fails saving throws by the caster. So if you really wanted to, you could do a build with your wizard where you have a bunch of spells that need saving throws, and if they fail them, you'll heal every round on that as well. You can really turn a Astarion or a vampire into a continuous just healing DPS tank or a healing DPS army builder with these two builds, and it's phenomenal. Let me know which one you prefer. Let me know what you think of these builds in the comments below. If you haven't already, please drop a video a like, helps me amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed, be a like too, that'd also be amazing, and hopefully guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.